We are at Dragon Con, literally. Lots of cybersecurity stuff going on here, oddly but not oddly enough. So we're gonna walk around, see what's up with the furries, the anime people. As you know, cybersecurity, furries, and anime people, a big good Venn diagram between all of them. So we're gonna see what's going on, literally. That was fun. I'm glad I got them to cast spells on me. They're passing out Bibles at Dragon Con. So we are at a Hackers 101 walkthrough kind of setup here. Intro to hacking, quote unquote hacking. They have a hacking lab. They have like Droopy CTF, Metasploitable 3, Mr. Robot, Minecraft Log4j, shout out. Show the setup here. And it's running on, I believe, Parrot OS. Don't quote me on that. It looks similar to Parrot. Yeah, Parrot OS. Okay, cool. I was right. So let's see what walkthroughs they have on here. Just clicked on Droopy. It's a box on VulnHub. Tools used: NetDiscover, Nmap, Nikto, Metasploit, TrueCrack, and Veracrypt. Interesting. Oh, it's a whole walkthrough. Okay, so they do Nmap-SV service version. Nmap basic start to a pen test. Then Nikto. And you can see all of the subdirectories for this web server. Then they have the robots.txt for this web server. Disallow all of these subdirectories, so that means web scrapers cannot scrape them. You can search through exploitdb, Metasploit, searchploit, search through all of the applicable exploits for this vulnerability kernel 3.13. And then you see all of the exploits for kernel 3.13. All of these guys. And then they're on Metasploit. They download the exploit. They get a bash shell onto the web server. So they are in the web server, and they are root, and they have pwned that machine. So I'd say that is a pretty beginner-friendly walkthrough. I mean, I lied. If you don't know what Nmap is, if you don't know what Metasploit is, if you don't know, like, Nikto, if you don't know subdirectory, like, enumeration, if you don't know Metasploit, exploits, payloads, exploitdb, I wouldn't say this would be beginner, like, noob, but it is definitely, like, beginner in a sense, as it is a box on VulnHub. So, yeah, I'd say, like, beginner-ish to intermediate-ish stuff. So, good one.
Guys, I understand there were some teething issues this year, but we actually had some people pwn some boxes, which was really cool. I appreciate you coming out. Please give us feedback.
Mike is on the fedora. I'm mic'd up. What a way. This is what Sam Sulek does. And I'm basically Sam Sulek. Commentary on the CTF. As I was, what are we explaining before? It honestly was not very beginner friendly. More so intermediate. It didn't explain what Nmap was. a guy came up to me and tried to contradict that point, saying it was beginner friendly. And I'm like, you don't explain what ports are. You don't explain what a network is. I'm like, if people have no knowledge of anything, like you can't just show them in-map and then do like dash SV service version. It's like, what even is service version, you know? So, all in all, more so intermediate, but what can you do? I had a good time, went away. So, met some cool people, went away. And now we're going to a Hacking 101 talk, which we'll see what they talk about. Hopefully something more so 101 and not like 301. We'll see. What away. We went to a talk about Google's antitrust stuff and how, you know, Google and all those other businesses collect all your data and they sell your data, and how privacy could be circumvented through, Wario just waved at me. About how privacy could be taken back to the people through Google's sharing of search data. We went to another one about the age verification laws and how those are not protecting children in the way that these people are trying to think that they're protecting children. That one was very good, 10 out of 10. We'll dive more in depth later when I can look at my notes and form better sentences with a script. So, just went to the Hacking 101 talk. It was like my social media comments, but in real life, how everyone was arguing with each other about Proxmox, or should I have Proxmox or 6 boxes for my home lab? In case someone tries to hack my home lab, I need 6 individual boxes instead of 1 Proxmox instance. So yeah, I mean, it was funny. It was kind of like cybersecurity stand-up, because everyone was just arguing with each other. So yeah, very funny. I got lots of chuckles. I got lots of laughs. 10 out of 10. Cybersecurity stand-up should be a thing, because lots of chuckles were had. They did talk about finding your local communities, such as the DC groups, the DEF CON groups in, you know, all the different cities around the US. The Linux enthusiast groups, apparently. So lots of groups for beginners to find your community. Also my Discord shout out. But yeah, lots of groups for beginners to find camaraderie and learn together and not have 6 different boxes instead of 1 Proxmox instance. So the first talk that I attended was about Google antitrust. Kind of about how they monopolize the browser industry, if you will. Which they kind of went over how antitrust laws are kind of put in place to prevent companies like this monopolizing the market, which obviously that has not worked. And they did talk about how AT&T, and I think it was the 1980s, they cooperated with the government to restructure itself because they were monopolizing the market at the time, but they restructured themselves and cooperated so much because they didn't want to be regulated. So breaking themselves up freed them strategically to work in more so unregulated markets. But then they came back together. Don't remember why. They also talked about how Google, Microsoft, Amazon, their primary business is data aggregation and selling data. That's their business model, just selling your data. which they do collect and consolidate your PII and data individually segmented, so it is harder to regulate, so they said. And since they consolidate all of our data, they do have the upper hand, and it is harder for competitors to compete because, of course, they've monopolized the market. And one remedy that they suggested for this was Google to share its search index data. So if this kind of like infrastructure was made public and like other browsers could just like build on top of it and use Google's data, it would be a sort of like a shared model, which according to them would reduce monopoly concerns without impacting user-specific data like search queries and things like that. And for example, since Chrome is usually a default browser, in a lot of places, this kind of pushes more so into the antitrust claims and more so has them kind of being questioned and being like, hey, why don't you decentralize? Why don't you not monopolize? And according to them, apparently, lots of AI companies are looking to buy Chrome or like integrate AI in some sort of way, which would cause a whole new slew of issues. AI getting access to this monopoly's browser data, not the best. Another thing that was talked about was the age verification laws. So these companies are forcing you in the UK to take pictures of your ID. They're doing online ID checks for people to use websites. If you're on the internet, if you know anything about the news, you've heard of this for sure. Which they were talking about. Where is that data stored? Where is it going? You're having literally everyone's IDs consolidated out there. They were talking about how it could be used in targeted marketing for law enforcement to keep an index of specific people to look out for, things like that, which is not good. And for example, age verification, like on Roblox, hot topic right now, they recently just put age verification on those inappropriate worlds. You did have to prove that you were 17. What the hell? But now you have to prove that you're 18 and then send in your ID. Which, sure, I guess. Adults can also play kids' games as well. You know what I mean? They can just go on the kids' games. So it's like, how do you balance that? It's a weird dichotomy for sure. And they didn't have an answer. I don't have an answer. Because everyone does agree we need to protect children online. But it is just how we go about protecting children. Because, for example, this ID ban, they're going to be using VPNs. Now they're like, if you use a VPN, you don't like your country, which, like, huh? It's not protecting kids. And, like, for example, they were talking about how this was written in COSA, which is the law or whatever. I don't know the legalities. It was written in there that things involve ID checks that protect children from sexually harmful content, which they could then apply to, for example, SMEX ed or things that are not harmful for children and that people need these resources to be educated and things like that. So it could also be going into that territory. For example, sexually harming content, according to them, that could also be going into LGBT territory, educational resources, sexually harmful to children, which majority of it is not. Sure, there's probably some outliers somewhere. But resources that teenagers need to be educated on. So it could go into that territory, is what they were saying. So we'll see. And then the third talk was a Hacking 101 panel. Like I said, it was like a actually contest in real life. It reminded me of my social media comments. People arguing with each other. People just argued with each other. It was a actually off in real life. But what can you expect from cybersecurity people? They talked about Red Star OS, and I guess they have a mobile phone carrier that takes screenshots in North Korea. Talked about North Korea
how they had literally one router and then it got DDoSed, and then took their entire internet down, which is crazy. They only had one router. I didn't know about this, so that was funny. They talked about like community resources that you can go to find some cybersecurity resources if you're a beginner. That's pretty much it. That's just kind of the recap of the talks. Now that I'm not in public and I have notes and I can, you know, think through thoughts. Anyway, that's the video. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Another vlog style thing. If there's any other like vlogs videos you guys have suggestions for, let me know. Going outside and doing vlog style stuff, and there's like a lot of cybersecurity events going on just like around the world in general. If you have any other suggestions, link them in the comments. And make sure to like, subscribe, punch all the buttons in the face, and I will see you in the next video.